sick? Why don't you just stay in the hospital forever, then? Over the phone, my husband uttered these cruel words. His reaction, which I never expected, made my voice tremble. What are you saying? I don't need a sick wife. In fact, I've been doing you a favor by being with you all this time. You should be grateful. My husband left me alone with my illness and went off on a trip with his lover. In that moment, the trust I had built up in my husband came crashing down, all at once. I can't believe it. Leaving his sick wife to go on a romantic getaway. Enough is enough. I will show no mercy. Now I will seek revenge, by any means necessary. My name is Lizette, and I'm 28 years old. I've been married to my husband Hervey for 2 years now. We met at the cafe where I used to work. He was a regular customer who approached me, and our relationship blossomed from there. After dating for about a year, we got married without a hitch. I lost my parents when I was in 9th grade. All that was left for my family's house and the inheritance from my father, who was a businessman. Thanks to that inheritance, I was able to go to college. I owe everything I have now to my parents, and I'm grateful. But losing both parents at once left me with wounds in my heart that are immeasurable. I was always afraid that someone I loved might suddenly disappear from my life. I fell into this groundless anxiety, and there were times when I even started to distrust people. During my relationship with Hervey, I expressed my fears many times. He was the one who accepted me with all my insecurities. When he proposed, he said, "I will never leave you, Lizette, and I'll always protect you. So please marry me." But I don't have a family. I will become your family. Huh? I'll be with you as your family for the rest of our lives. I won't let you feel lonely anymore. Hervey. I believed in his words and decided to get married. After getting married, we moved into the house where I had lived with my parents. Having lived alone for so long, married life with him was so bright and happy, it was dazzling. After we got married, he didn't work late, and he came straight home every day. It became normal to eat dinner together, and before bedtime, we would slowly watch a movie together. Those were joyful days. However, about a year after we got married, my husband's overtime work suddenly began to increase. Though his overtime had been almost zero, it gradually increased to 1 or 2 days a week, and before I knew it, most of the week was filled with overtime. 2 months later, business trips were added, and our time as a couple drastically decreased. Dinner became a daily routine that I ate alone. At first, I endured it, but unable to bear the sudden change in our lives, I decided to open up to my husband. Hey, Hervey, don't you think you've been working late too much lately? Sorry about that. Work's been piling up recently. But you hardly worked late even a few months ago. And then there's that business trip the other day. I'm working hard for you, Lizette. To hear you say that, it's honestly a shock. I'm sorry. Frightened by my husband's intimidating tone, I apologized on the spur of the moment. Then he immediately returned to his usual demeanor and smiled, saying, "As long as you understand." Do I really have to endure this? For the sake of our married life, Hervey is working hard every day. I probably should have been more suspicious, but at that time, I didn't have the courage. To me, who had lost my family, Hervey was my only family left. I didn't want to lose my precious family ever again. Because of these feelings, I couldn't confront him any further. Several months later, on this day, Hervey came home in a state of inebriation like never before. Despite my welcoming, "You're home!" He didn't respond at all, went straight to the bed and fell asleep, still in his suit. Why? He said he was working late today. An indescribable anxiety overwhelms me. Why is he drunk? Wasn't he supposed to be working late? What has he really been doing all this time? And where? I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to damage our relationship, so I had been turning a blind eye, until now. When I glanced at my husband, who was sleeping contently in bed, I noticed his mobile phone sticking out of his pocket. Could it be that he's hiding something from me? Such a suspicion crossed my mind. Before I knew it, I had my husband's mobile phone secretly in my hand. While he slept, I used his fingerprints to unlock it. Then, on the screen that opened, I saw a long conversation with someone named Lover. Thanks to you, Hervey, I had a great time today. Thank you. When can we meet again? Leave your wife soon and be with me. In the photo folder, there were numerous pictures of Hervey with a woman, presumably Lover. Some of them were quite explicit, and I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. With my husband's mobile phone still in my hand, I rushed to the bathroom to catch my breath. Somehow, I managed to keep my composure, but it was too much for me to bear alone. Then I thought of Briella, my best friend from high school, who now lives abroad. She is very intelligent, and after studying abroad in college, she is now working overseas. When I dialed the international number, she answered after a few rings. Hello? Briella? What should I do? I don't think I can handle this anymore. I cried to her, telling her this. What? Wait, Lizette? What's going on? My husband, Hervey, he's been cheating on me. Cheating? I explained the whole situation to Briella, about how after a year of marriage, his overtime and business trips suddenly increased, how he came home drunk, even though he said he was working late, and how I had seen evidence of his infidelity on his mobile phone. I explained sobbing, and Briella silently listened. When I had finished telling her everything, she spoke to me. Lizette, listen carefully. I know this is painful right now, but I think it's best to properly gather evidence of the affair for the future. Evidence? But that means considering divorce. Then what? Lizette, do you want to spend the rest of your life with a man who cheats on you? I don't know. I know that you care about your family, Lizette, but can someone who makes you miserable truly be called family? Briella. Her words woke me up. I realized that I had unconditionally believed everything my husband had said. It was strange, thinking back, how suddenly overtime and business trips had become so frequent. Out of fear of losing him, I had turned my eyes away from reality. With Briella's advice, I decided to start taking steps towards divorcing Hervey. First, I transferred all the evidence of his infidelity that was on his mobile phone to mine. Briella introduced me to a lawyer she knew, and I diligently gathered evidence, guided by the lawyer's advice. I followed my husband, regularly checked his mobile phone. Collecting evidence while juggling work and household chores was truly exhausting. I even cut back on sleep, so my body was on the brink, and I collapsed several times. After all that effort, within a few months, I had gathered a significant amount of evidence of infidelity. With all this, I should definitely be able to divorce him advantageously. Finally, all my hard work seemed to be paying off, but just when I thought that, I collapsed at work and was rushed to the hospital. I thought it was just exhaustion, but the examination revealed a certain illness. I had to be hospitalized immediately. I had gathered the evidence and it was just the right time, but still, there was nothing to be done about the illness. I called my husband to tell him about it. Hervey, can you talk for a moment? What? Didn't I tell you I'm on a business trip for a while starting today? Actually, I collapsed at work. I need to be hospitalized for a bit. Huh? So? What do you mean, so? Is that all you have to say? You're going to be in the hospital, right? You'll be safe there. By this time, my husband had lost interest in me and was meeting with his lover almost every day. His treatment of me had become so careless that I even wondered if he was trying to get caught. Naturally, my feelings for him had completely cooled off. I was fed up with his complete lack of concern, and I couldn't help but ask. You're thinking it's lucky that I'm hospitalized, aren't you? Huh? What are you talking about all of a sudden? That's a pain. But it's true, isn't it? Today, you're not going on a business trip. You're going on a vacation with your lover. What? How did you find out about that? It's pretty obvious. Did you actually think you were hiding it? I thought he would deny it more, but my husband surprisingly admitted to the affair quite easily. Perhaps thinking he was already caught, he suddenly became defiant. Yeah, that's right. I am having an affair. You got a problem with that? Ugh. How can you be so brazen? After all this time, you've been deceiving me. It's your fault for being fooled, right? And why don't you just stay in the hospital forever? What are you talking about? I don't need a sick wife. I've been doing you a favor by staying married to you this long, so be grateful. In that moment, all my feelings turned into anger towards my husband. Be grateful? This is not the married life I wanted. He's making a fool of me. I'll make him regret this. I will never forgive you, Hervey. Holding back the urge to scream at him, I calmly tell my husband. Then he responds with propagation. Feel free to do as you wish. You can't divorce me anyway. Why do you think that? Because it's true, right? I'm the only family you have. If you lose me now, you'll be all alone again. Are you okay with that? Huh. Family. Huh. Just behave and we'll remain a family. That's the deal. I'm off to enjoy a trip with my girlfriend. You have fun in the hospital too! With that, he callously hung up the phone. At that moment, a sweet, syrupy woman's voice could be heard through the phone, saying, Are you done yet? Perhaps he doesn't feel the need to hide it anymore. Even if his affair is exposed, he thinks I can't move forward with a divorce. Don't underestimate me. If he thinks that just by using the word family, he can fool me so easily, he's sorely mistaken. If you're feeling that way, just know that I have thoughts of my own. As I was filled with determination, I received a call from Briella, perfectly timed. I quickly explained the content of the previous conversation. So, that's the situation. Hervey seems to think I can't divorce him. What? Seriously? How much more can he belittle you? I know, right? Well, I'm planning on getting a divorce. The biggest problem is what to do after the divorce. What do you mean? You see, and Briella probably knows this too, the house I'm living in now is mine. So even if I divorce him, I don't know if he'll leave right away, and since he knows the address, he might come back. I see. After a moment of thought, Briella excitedly exclaimed, That's it! Hey Lizette, I have a great idea. Huh? I opened my eyes wide at the idea that came out of her mouth. But now, I don't have time to hesitate. I accepted her proposal and decided to proceed with the plan simultaneously with the hospitalization. A few days later, today is the day Hervey comes back from his trip with his lover. I, who had already been discharged from the hospital, had been eagerly awaiting his reaction. As expected, I got a call from Hervey in the afternoon. Hello? When I calmly answered the phone, he suddenly raised his voice in anger. Hey, you! What's going on here? What do you mean, what's going on? Inside the house! Everything is gone except for my personal belongings, isn't it? Yes, that's right. Is there a problem with that? What? Where did you take all the furniture and appliances? You didn't sell them to get back at me, did you? Of course not, silly. I moved them to my new place. What? A new place? The word new place seemed to surprise him quite a bit. I guess the idea of me moving out on my own never crossed his mind. Hervey continued to blame me in a strong tone. Don't mess with me! You can't just move out on your own! We need to talk first! Tell me the address! Huh? No thanks. What do you mean? Are you saying it's fine if I don't come back? Yes, it's fine. What? I don't want to see you anymore, so I moved out, quietly. Oh, by the way, I've already sold the house. Please move your stuff out by the end of the month. What are you saying? You still don't get it? I'm saying, let's get divorced. Finally, I laid the divorce on him. My husband seemed quite confused, repeating words I couldn't quite make out over the phone. Whether it was my bringing up the divorce that bothered him, he eventually started lecturing me in an arrogant tone. Do you really think it's okay to say that? Divorce means our family will be gone, you know? I know, but we haven't been a family for a while now, have we? Don't mess with me! I've always been with you as a family, as a husband! If you insist on divorce, then pay me compensation! Huh? Compensation? Do you even know where you stand? If anyone's paying compensation, it's actually you, okay? Huh? It's not huh. Just so you know, I have more than enough evidence of your affairs. Of course, I'll demand as much compensation as possible from your lover, too. My husband's voice suddenly became very small over the phone, and I could feel his panic. Realizing that he was the one who would be demanded to pay compensation, he quickly changed his attitude and began to plead. Wait, please, I was wrong. Yes? I'll break up with her. I'll start over with you as husband and wife. So, please, just spare me the compensation. My husband is pitifully begging, repeatedly saying, "Forgive me." With each plea, my feelings for him cooled further, eventually turning into irritation. As if to completely sever my attachment to my husband, I shouted out loud, "Enough! You've cheated on me over and over, making a fool of me, and now you say forgive me? Don't kid yourself. I no longer think of you as family. You're the worst kind of man, cheating on your sick wife. I refuse you from my end." Ugh, Lizette, please, listen to me. You don't want to be alone either, do you? I don't care about your story. Your excuses are worthless. I won't cling to you anymore. I don't need a family like you. Just go to hell with your mistress. I hung up the phone unilaterally and blocked his contact. Afterward, I left all dealings with him to the lawyer I had previously hired. At first, my husband was reluctant to agree to a divorce, but frightened by the lawyer's words, divorce mediation and divorce trial, he finally agreed to divorce quietly. I continued to demand compensation in a lump sum from both him and his lover. Perhaps because he had told her, "It'll never be found out." His lover became furious upon being asked for compensation. She paid me the compensation and immediately ended her relationship with Harvey. Being his junior colleague at the company, the whole office was abuzz with talk of my ex-husband's affair. He couldn't stand it any longer, so he voluntarily resigned from the company. Only debts remained for Harvey. Even when he asked his parents for assistance, they coldly cut ties with him. Now, he can't find a new full-time job, and he's desperately juggling several part-time jobs, struggling to pay off his debt every day. On the other hand, I've turned over a new leaf and started a new life. Since my ex-husband knew about the cafe where I used to work, I requested a transfer, and am now working at a different location. I can't thank Briella enough for suggesting this to me. She'll be returning home temporarily soon, so I plan to thank her in person then. I'm done being trapped by the word family. From now on, I want to cherish the people who care for me, just as they cherish me.